Every empire has a weak point. For Jason Crow, the billionaire who ruled New York's skyline, it wasn't money or power. His downfall came from something smaller, softer, a secret wrapped inside the only woman he ever trusted. Picture this. The city lights glow through the glass walls of his penthouse. The room is silent, but the silence feels like thunder. Elena Hart stands before him, trembling, her eyes wet with tears. Jason's voice cuts through the stillness. "Tell me it isn't true." She says nothing, and in that silence, everything shatters. The man who once believed he could control the world realizes he cannot even control his own heart. This was the moment that brought him to his knees. A man who built towers that touched the sky, undone not by a rival or a market crash, but by the truth hidden in the woman he loved. Theirs is not a simple love story. It is a war between desire and betrayal, between power and vulnerability, between the image the world sees and the secrets whispered behind closed doors. Jason lived by numbers, contracts, and deals carved in stone. Elena lived by something far more fragile: hope, fear, and survival. Their worlds should never have collided. Yet when they did, passion burned so fiercely it threatened to consume them both. But here lies the question. What happens when love collides with a lie? When the very thing that drew you to someone becomes the reason you fall apart? For Jason and Elena, the answer would cost more than fortune or pride. It would cost them everything. This is not only a story of wealth and power. It is a story of broken trust, raw desire, and the dangerous game of loving someone who hides the truth. Before we dive deeper into Jason and Elena's journey, I need to ask for your support. This video took over 40 hours to research, write, and produce. If you find value in these stories, please subscribe. Your support helps me bring more of these emotional journeys to life. Because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when a secret this small destroys everything a billionaire built. Jason Crow wasn't born into wealth. He carved it with his own hands, shaping steel and glass into monuments that carried his name. The world saw him as untouchable, New York's golden king, the man who bent entire industries to his will. But power is lonely, and loneliness sharpens desire. It was a stormy evening when he first saw her. The charity gala buzzed with laughter and champagne, but Jason's eyes locked on one woman who didn't belong. She wasn't dripping in diamonds, nor was she surrounded by admirers. She stood by the balcony, staring into the night as if the city belonged to her alone. Her name was Elena Hart. Their first words were not rehearsed, not polished like the empty chatter around them. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else," Jason said. She smiled faintly. "Maybe I would." But the view here is impossible to resist that night. Something shifted in him. Jason, the man who measured every moment in profit and loss, found himself captivated by someone who offered him no deal, no gain, only a mystery. Elena carried secrets in her eyes. He sensed it instantly, and instead of warning him away, it drew him closer. Days turned into weeks. Jason began breaking his own rules, canceling meetings, leaving boardrooms early, appearing in places only she would be. He learned Elena worked as a gallery assistant, her life far removed from his high-rise world. Yet with her, he felt more human than he had in years. But love, especially between two people from such different worlds, never comes without cost. His empire whispered. Board members frowned at the distraction. Investors questioned his judgment. Jason ignored them all. For the first time, he felt alive. For the first time, he wasn't chasing profit. He was chasing her. And Elena, she let herself fall. Against her better judgment, against the weight of what she carried inside, she gave in to the pull of his world. Nights of laughter, stolen glances, touches that burned like fire. They became her refuge. But behind every smile, her secret waited. A secret small enough to hide with one carefully chosen word, yet heavy enough to topple everything if spoken aloud. Jason didn't see it yet. To him, she was a revelation. "She's different," he told his closest friend one night over whiskey. "She doesn't want my money. She wants me." His friend warned him, "Everyone wants something, Jason. Be careful who you trust." But Jason believed in her. He believed in the light she brought into his dark, relentless world. And for a moment it seemed as though love could rewrite the story of a billionaire whose life had been built on numbers and contracts. Yet fate was patient. Secrets are patient. Elena was waiting, silent, deadly, ready to unravel everything. Jason Crow wasn't used to waiting. People bent time for him, meetings shifted, flights delayed, doors opened. Yet now he found himself standing outside a small art gallery in Soho, waiting like a man with nothing but hope in his hands. Inside, Elena moved like she belonged to another world. She wore simple dresses, her hair tied back, yet every movement held grace. She wasn't performing for anyone. She didn't need to. "Do billionaires usually linger outside art galleries?" she teased when she noticed him. "Only when they're waiting for someone worth the wait," Jason replied. Their lives collided in quiet, stolen hours. He brought her to his penthouse overlooking Central Park. She showed him the hidden corners of the city, the small cafes, the forgotten bookstores, the places untouched by wealth. For the first time, Jason lived outside the walls of boardrooms and glass towers. But even in those moments, shadows clung to Elena. One night, as they watched the city lights, he asked, "What are you afraid of?" She hesitated. Her hand trembled before she pulled it away from his. "Some things are better left unsaid," she whispered. That answer haunted him. Still, his desire outweighed his doubt. His empire, however, didn't share his blindness. Jason's distraction grew impossible to ignore. His second-in-command confronted him after a tense meeting. "She's a risk," the man said bluntly. "Our deals are falling apart because you're chasing a woman no one knows." Jason's jaw tightened. "My personal life is not your concern. When it costs billions, it becomes everyone's concern." The empire Jason built was starting to shake, and he didn't care. But Elena cared. She saw what her presence was costing him. Each time he looked at her like she was his salvation, guilt clawed deeper into her chest. The secret she carried wasn't just hers anymore. It threatened to ruin the man she loved. Yet how do you tell a man like Jason Crow the truth when that truth could break him? She tried to pull back. She canceled dinners. She avoided his calls. But Jason wasn't a man who let go easily. One evening, he showed up at her door unannounced, rain soaking his tailored suit. "Tell me why you're pushing me away," he demanded. Her lips parted, her eyes wide with panic. Then she shook her head. "I can't." Jason stepped closer, his voice low but fierce. "You can hide from the world, Elena. But not from me," her heart screamed to tell him, to release the truth, but fear silenced her. Because once spoken, the secret couldn't be taken back, and she knew it would change everything. The conference room buzzed with muted conversations. Assistants shuffled papers, screens flashed financial projections. But Jason Crow barely noticed any of it. His gaze locked on the woman at the far end of the table, Elena Hart. She wore no flashy jewelry, no designer label screaming for attention, just a simple navy dress that framed her quiet elegance. Her voice carried calm authority as she presented numbers with the kind of confidence most executives twice her age struggled to fake. Jason leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Interesting. When the meeting ended, people rushed to impress him as usual. Elena didn't. She gathered her notes and slipped toward the door, unnoticed by everyone, except him. "Miss Hart," Jason called. She stopped, turned. Her eyes, soft but guarded, met his. "Yes, Mr. Crow." "Your projections." He held up her folder. "They cut through more noise than half this room." A small smile touched her lips. "I just focus on the facts." "Noise doesn't pay the bills," Jason chuckled. "No, it doesn't. But clarity, that's priceless." For the first time in years, he wasn't speaking like a CEO. He was speaking like a man, intrigued. Later that day, fate intervened. Rain poured over Manhattan, turning sidewalks into rivers. As Jason stepped out of the building, a gust flipped Elena's umbrella inside out. She laughed, a soft, genuine sound, unpolished by effort. Without thinking, Jason reached for his jacket, holding it above her head. "You'll ruin your suit," she said. "I can buy another," he replied. "But if you get sick, those projections won't be worth much." Her laugh turned into something lighter, warmer. "That's a very pragmatic way to justify being kind." "Pragmatism is my specialty." His smile deepened. For a man who prided himself on control, the moment felt dangerous. Not because of the rain, because of her. Over the next few weeks, their paths kept crossing, sometimes by coincidence. Sometimes, Jason suspected, by design, though whose design, he couldn't say. Coffee in the break room turned into conversations that stretched past deadlines. Business dinners with executives ended with them sitting apart from the crowd, exchanging quiet stories. Elena wasn't impressed by his power. She didn't flinch at his intensity. Instead, she pushed back, met him word for word, and sometimes, God help him, won. One evening, as the city lights glittered outside his office window, Jason leaned across his desk. Most people in this world, he said, pretend to be something they're not. But you hide nothing. Her smile wavered for a fraction of a second. Everyone hides something, Mr. Kuhn. Bro. The words struck him harder than he expected. Something in her tone, something in her eyes. But then she looked away, and the moment slipped. The chemistry between them burned quietly, dangerously. A look here, a touch of fingers brushing when passing papers. A silence filled with questions neither dared to voice. Jason found himself restless when she wasn't near. Elena, in turn, carried a new lightness around him. Yet every laugh, every spark, seemed tethered to an invisible chain neither could see, but both could feel. Because while Jason allowed himself, for the first time, to imagine more than business, Elena knew the truth she carried could never stay hidden forever. And every heartbeat closer to him was one step closer to the inevitable storm. Have you ever felt an instant pull towards someone you knew could change your life? For better or worse? Share your story in the comments below. The office lights dimmed late at night, leaving the city skyline glowing through the glass walls. Everyone had gone home hours ago, except Jason and Elena. Stacks of papers lay forgotten on the desk. What mattered now wasn't the numbers, but the silence between them. Jason leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on her. You're the only person I know who works harder than me? Elena smirked. That's because you don't know my rent. Her quick wit made him laugh, but the sound died quickly. He wasn't used to laughing like that. He wasn't used to needing someone's presence. Yet here she was, sitting across from him, turning his world upside down without even trying. It started with small gestures. Jason brought her coffee, though he claimed the intern mixed up the order. Elena slipped notes under his files, short, thoughtful lines that made him pause longer than he should. One evening, she found him staring at the skyline. You built all this, she said softly. His jaw tightened. And for what? To eat dinner alone in rooms this big? Her eyes lingered on him, heavy with something unsaid. Maybe you were waiting for someone to share it with. The silence that followed was dangerous, a silence filled with possibility. Their connection deepened outside the walls of the company. A gala in uptown Manhattan became something else entirely when Jason saw Elena walk into the ballroom. She wore a crimson dress that clung to her like it had been made for her alone. Every head turned. Jason's breath caught. He reached her before anyone else could. You're stealing the night, he murmured. Her lips curved into a teasing smile. I thought you didn't like distractions. Not until now. They danced, slow and deliberate, the city's most powerful men and women watching, as if even they knew. Something dangerous had begun. But beneath the romance, a shadow stirred. Jason started asking quiet questions. Why did Elena avoid talking about her past? Why did she disappear some nights with excuses that felt rehearsed? He caught her once, standing outside the office, phone clutched tight, whispering words he wasn't meant to hear. Please, I can't let him find out. When she saw him watching, her face went pale. Elena, he said slowly, what aren't you telling me? Her silence was an answer in itself. The pull between them was undeniable, but so was the tension. Jason was falling, something he hadn't allowed himself to do in years. Elena was falling too, yet every step closer to him carried the weight of the secret she swore she'd never reveal. One night, as rain streaked down his penthouse windows, Jason reached for her hand. Whatever it is, he whispered, you don't have to face it alone. Her hand trembled in his, her eyes shining with both longing and fear. She wanted to believe him, but she knew the truth. And the truth, if it came out, could destroy everything he had built. Would you take the risk of loving someone even if you knew they were hiding something that could ruin you? The morning after the gala, Jason entered the office with a smile he didn't recognize on himself. It felt dangerous, hopeful, but Elena wasn't at her desk. Hours passed. By noon, whispers spread. She had missed an important client meeting. That wasn't like her. When she finally arrived, her hair damp from the rain, her face pale, Jason pulled her aside. "Where were you?" His voice was low, edged with concern more than anger. "I had something to take care of." "Something?" His eyes searched hers. "Elena, if I can't trust you..." Her heart pounded, but she forced a calm smile. "Then don't." The words cut deeper than she meant, but behind them was fear. Fear of what her secret could cost if he ever uncovered it. Still, Jason couldn't let it go. That night, he went through her work, her files, searching for something, anything that explained her sudden vanishing acts. Nothing, except one thing, a slip of paper tucked between reports, written in a hand he didn't recognize. "The debt isn't gone. Pay up or he'll know everything." Jason froze. His chest tightened. Someone had leverage on her, someone dangerous. The next evening, Elena found herself at his penthouse again. She tried to hide her exhaustion, her trembling hands, but Jason saw. He always saw. "Elena," he said quietly, "if you're in trouble, I need to know." Her eyes welled with tears, but she shook her head. "You don't. Please, don't ask me." That plea, it wasn't weakness, it was desperation. And for the first time in years, Jason felt powerless. What he didn't know was that her secret had already begun to unravel. Someone else knew, someone willing to use it against them both. And when the truth surfaced, it wouldn't just break Jason's heart. It could shatter the empire he built with his bare hands. If you discovered the person you loved was hiding something that threatened your entire future, would you demand the truth or protect the love, no matter the cost? The following week should have been a triumph. Jason secured a billion-dollar merger. His name filled headlines. But instead of victory, unease followed him like a shadow. Every time he turned, Elena's face haunted him, the way her smile faltered, the way her eyes darted away when he asked too much. One night, while reviewing contracts, his phone buzzed. A message. No name. Only a warning. Walk away from her or lose everything. Jason's blood ran cold. Whoever this was, they weren't bluffing. His empire, his reputation, even his life's work. Suddenly fragile. But he couldn't walk away. Not from Elena, not now. Meanwhile, Elena fought battles Jason couldn't see. Men in dark suits watching her from across the street. Late-night phone calls demanding money she didn't have. Her secret wasn't just hers anymore. It was a weapon, and she was the target. When Jason found her crying in the parking lot, clutching her phone like it might explode, something inside him broke. "Elena, enough. Tell me." She looked up, eyes red, voice trembling. "If I do, you'll hate me, and they'll destroy you." He didn't flinch. Let them try. In that moment, something shifted. Their connection wasn't just attraction anymore. It was survival. It was trust, or at least the fragile start of it. But trust, like glass, can break with one blow, and the blow was coming. If someone you loved carried a dangerous secret, would you risk everything to protect them, or walk away to save yourself? The storm finally broke. Jason's world, built on steel, glass, and ruthless precision, was collapsing, not from rivals, not from scandals, but from the woman he couldn't stop loving. It started with a meeting. A board member slid a folder across the table. Inside, documents, photos, bank records, all tied to Elena, a forged identity, a trail of debts, a connection to the very men trying to take Jason down. The board's voices rose like knives. "You brought her into your home. She's compromised you. She could cost us everything." Jason didn't defend himself. Not yet. He just closed the folder with shaking hands and walked out. That night, he found her in his penthouse. staring out over the city. The skyline burned gold against the night, but her face was pale. "Elena," his voice cracked, "tell me it's not true." She turned slowly, tears already spilling. "I never wanted you to find out like this." His chest tightened. "So it's true?" "I lied about my past," she whispered, "but not about us. Not about you." Her confession spilled like shattered glass. She was the daughter of a disgraced tycoon, the same man Jason's company had destroyed years ago in a ruthless takeover. She had hidden her name, her history, everything, because being tied to him meant ruin. "I should have walked away," she said, "but then you looked at me like I was more than my past, and I couldn't let that go." Jason's fists clenched. Betrayal, desire, anger, love, all crashing together. "You were the one thing I let inside," he whispered, "and you made it a lie." But even as fury consumed him, the truth was undeniable. Her secret might ruin him, but her absence would destroy him. If you discovered the person you love lied about their identity, would you forgive them or walk away forever? Jason didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Elena's tears. Her words echoed, "I never lied about us." But the board's voices echoed louder. "She'll cost you everything." By morning, the storm had reached the headlines. Fortune Empire shaken by CEO's scandal. Reporters swarmed outside his building. Investors pulled out. Stock prices dropped like falling glass. And through it all, Jason stood frozen, torn between saving the empire he had built with blood and fire, or the woman who had stolen the last piece of his heart. That evening, Elena came to him one last time. She wasn't dressed in elegance or power, just simple clothes, hair loose, eyes red from sleeplessness. "Jason," she whispered, "I'll leave." "I won't drag you down." His jaw tightened. Every instinct screamed to let her go, to salvage his empire, to bury his feelings in concrete and steel. But when he looked at her, really looked, he saw something no empire could replace. "Elena," his voice broke, softer than it had ever been. "I don't care about the company." She shook her head, crying harder. "This is your life, your legacy." He stepped closer, gripping her trembling hands. "You're my life now." It wasn't a declaration shouted across a ballroom. It wasn't a grand speech. It was a choice, raw and simple. He would fight his board. He would rebuild from ashes if he had to, but he would not lose her. For the first time, the ruthless billionaire chose love over power. But as their hands locked together, the city outside screamed with chaos. His enemies had found their opening, and Jason was about to learn that love, even chosen, would cost him more than he ever imagined. Would you sacrifice everything you built for love, or protect your empire at all costs? The boardroom was silent when Jason walked in. Every face turned, accusing, expectant. Papers stacked like weapons. The headlines still screamed betrayal. One director leaned forward. "Jason, if you don't cut ties with her, you lose everything." He stood at the head of the table, calm, unshaken. "No," he said, "if I cut ties with her, I lose myself." The room erupted, voices clashed, threats flew. But Jason's voice cut through. "I built this empire. I can build it again. What I won't rebuild is a heart I threw away." Outside, Elena waited, not knowing if he would emerge as a man broken or a man free. When he finally stepped out, his tie loosened, eyes blazing. She rose in fear. "What happened?" she whispered. Jason pulled her close. "They tried to make me choose," he breathed, "and I did." Her tears fell fast, but this time, they weren't from pain. They were from relief, from love. Days later, the storm hadn't ended. Reporters still shouted. Investors still doubted. But something had changed. For the first time in years, Jason walked through his glass towers with his head high, not because of the empire behind him, but because of the woman beside him. They had no illusions. The fight ahead would be brutal, but together, they weren't afraid. One evening, on the balcony where it all began, he looked at Elena. "Everything I built was for power," he confessed, "but with you, I finally built something worth keeping." She smiled through her tears. "Then let's build it again." Together, and in that moment, The empire didn't matter. The money didn't matter. Love, raw, fragile, unshakable, was all that remained. What did you think of this story? Do you believe love can conquer every obstacle? Let me know, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.